IVM.
Welcome to the second season of This Round Is On Me. Whether it was her transition from TV to cinema or making her mark as a female lead in Bollywood, who carries the weight of a film solely on her shoulders, refusing to just play the token role of the traditional Hindi film heroine, who sings, dances, looks pretty, and supports the male lead. Her journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. She has been awarded India's fourth highest civilian honor, the Padma Shri, a National Film Award, and several Filmfare Awards. She truly is a pioneer. She is Vidya Balan. We'll be back right after this break to chat with her.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Sujita talk about two growing categories, mental health and pets. They give us a rundown on why mental health apps have seen a rise, especially as a result of the lockdown. They also analyze the significant growth in the pets category of consumer goods. We often feel that we don't get paid enough for what we do. Join Chetna on Say No to Drama as she talks about self-worth. On Big Talk About Tiny Humans, Dr. Meghna and Devi Shobha discuss why feminism is a dirty word and why people find this term problematic. Sudisha and Arushi from All Things Policy talk about how the Indian economy pointed towards a 30% decline since 2016 in the number of employed young adults. And on The Longest Constitution, Priya looks at the long history of how laws on property are biased against women and how women have fought back to challenge these laws. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you enjoyed this show or any of our shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth really does help us. And also, please, a rating if you could. That is also extremely helpful to us. And remember, we're also on YouTube. You can check out ivmpodcast.com/YouTube to get a list of the different channels that we operate on YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, India Water Portal, and Max Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
So Vidya, welcome to This Round Is On Me, and thank you so much for making the time to be here today. And, it's great to see you, albeit virtually, but yet to, have you on the show and, of course, to see you in some shape or form. So again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Gauri. Yes, it's wonderful to see you. I think it's been quite a while, but
I know.
yeah,
I've been chasing you for forever, and honestly, so I am truly grateful for you making the time. And when we were sort of planning our lineup of guests and things, and of course we're hot on the heels of International Women's Day, and I was literally we have to start chasing 2 months ago because I want the only person I can think of speaking to is Vidya Balan. And
my God,
you really are the mascot for women in Bollywood. And I kind of want to sort of dive right into that, where very early on you started doing roles that were in a way redefining for cinema, and you were smashing stereotypes, you were bending norms. That's kind of what we've seen you do throughout a lot of your work, and that's what I associate you with, from Dirty Picture, Kahani, everything. We all call these movies women-centric films. I don't know how you think of them, but was this a conscious choice for you? Do you set out to seek such roles, or do these roles just find their way to you somehow?
I think it's a two-way street, honestly. Because Gauri, I think it was about 14 years ago when I did a film called Ishqiya. At the time, there weren't many films headlined by women. And I know, I was cautioned by a few people saying, this sounds like a Hatke film. Do you really want to do it? You're a stream commercial actress. But I said, oh my God, I'd just done a couple of films that I absolutely didn't believe in. And I had gotten a lot of criticism for them, though the films did very well. And I was at a juncture in my career where I really have to, I either do what I really enjoy or then I don't do it. And that was the time when Ishqiya was offered to me, and I did it. And I almost it had just been 3 years since the beginning of my career in films, but I almost felt like this was a sort of a rebirth. I discovered purpose as an actor. It was a reminder of why I wanted to be an actor. It was so fulfilling. And then one thing led to another. I think it was my exasperation with the kind of roles that commercial cinema was offering me, and the fact that I stuck out like a sore thumb, because I was very, everyone has, pretty much everyone has said, oh, you're the unconventional Hindi film heroine. I don't know about that, but I do think that I was a misfit in those films, but I wanted to act.
Yeah.
And I was ready to do everything to make it work for me. But all this I'm saying in hindsight, honestly. I think it was just like, I'm someone who believes that you put your desire out into the universe and the universe manifests your dreams for you. And that's exactly what happened. So, Ishqiya happened, and then I got offered Pa, and then I got offered No One Killed Jessica, and then Dirty Picture and Kahani. So, it almost started a kind of, it set me on a path, maybe unconsciously, though I'd say maybe these were choices that subconsciously, that were guided by my subconscious. And it was just so, I don't think it was just about choice. Of course, I made those choices, but those choices presented themselves to me.
Sure.
Especially after Ishqiya, I think people felt, oh, she can also do this. And then after I did Pa, they thought, oh, she's fearless, because, people have said these things to me in person. So I think slowly they began to realize that I was not just unidimensional.
Yeah.
Because in the initial few films, I was just seen as this Miss Goody Two Shoes, and slowly that cloak was
being shed.
Was shed, was crumbling, and that was a good thing.
Yeah.
So yes, also I have to admit, I get restless very easily. I get bored very easily. So I think to keep myself challenged and interested, I look for new things to do.
Yeah. Vidya, it's so interesting that you talk about purpose as an actor, because intuitively to me, as an actor, because you're playing so many different roles, you're in pretend mode. One doesn't think that purpose, is important, for an actor, because of course you pick roles that you feel are interesting and challenging, etc. But, I find that amazing that you use that word, because for me as a businesswoman, we talk a lot about purpose, passion, perseverance, all kind of being so integral to being able to do what we do. And in fact, the very first episode that I did on this show was about purpose over profit. So I find that really interesting that, that's what drives you, and that's kind of led you to where you are today. But I sort of have a follow-up question on, the roles that started presenting themselves to you and the scripts that started coming, finding their way to you. Do you feel that you've, sort of driven or actually instigated a larger movement towards women-centric films and women-centric roles, because people see that they've been successful? There is scope for moving away from the commercial hero-heroine sort of love story, traditional love story. Do you kind of take credit for that as well? Because that's how I see it. But, how do you feel about the role you've played?
I'd love to take credit for it, but I don't think I can, very honestly. I just think I was at the right place at the right time. The film industry was, Hindi films were at a point where they were ready to tell these stories. I think also because cinema reflects reality. Cinema is a reflection of society. The changes happening around us, the fact that, you had more women saying, we're going to go after our dreams. We're not going to, just keep quiet when something wrong happens to us. All of this was finding expression in the stories that people were writing. Right. And then, it was encouraging producers. And of course, very conservatively, they were investing in these films. But like you've said, with successive successes, people started gaining the confidence to make more of these so-called female-centric films. And you asked me whether, what I feel about these films being called that. And I hope someday we're able to do away with that tag.
Yeah.
Someday I hope we don't need that qualification of a female-centric film. You just walk in to watch a film and the hero happens to be a woman.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it started. And then, slowly there were more female actors who began to do these kind of films, and their films began to see success. And then it's just becoming
more and more mainstream in a way now.
Yes, there are all kinds of stories being told.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Also because I think as people, we're not just seeing women as mothers and wives. We're so much more today. We're allowing ourselves to be seen as so much more, as women with careers, as, in various fields, as individuals with dreams and desires. All of that is what's expressing itself on celluloid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, film is a reflection of life at the end of the day. You're actually the first film that I remember you in is Parinita. And it's amazing because that film, had the title itself is a female role, a character. And I still remember actually when I met you at the table, I think it was the very first time, and I was with my sister, and we were like so sort of in awe, and like we were like, oh my God, celebrity struck. And then I remember she very boyishly said, I loved you in Parinita, because it was just this like gorgeous role and look that you had. And I really think that that's what kind of launched you, right? At least for me, that's what I'll always sort of associate with seeing you the first time. And
absolutely.
And you came from nowhere in the sense that, like, I wasn't familiar with the TV shows before that. And, for me, I was just like, oh my God, who is this gorgeous woman? And I'm kind of where I'm going with this is that, nepotism, has been hotly debated. I'm stirring all the sort of pots here. But it has been, and even more so now, it's very much at the forefront of, Bollywood. And the general impression is that, for an outsider without any connections or mentors, it's very difficult to survive, let alone thrive. How did you make that foray and not just survive, but truly thrive in this industry?
Firstly, thank you so much for all the wonderful things you said about Parinita. And I remember that first meeting with you at the table, which happens to be one of Siddharth's and my favoriteest restaurants in the city. I think, nepotism is a reality in the sense that every family wants to further its legacy. Would legacy be the right word here? Yeah, so I think that could be in films, that could be in business, that could be in music. I think this happens quite, it's almost
naturally.
Naturally, But I didn't ever think that could be an impediment for me. I knew that I wanted to be an actor when I was 11 years old. And of course, at that time, I didn't know how that dream would come true, but I held on to that dream for many, many years before it actually materialized. But actually not so many, many years, because I started acting at the age of 15 and a half. And, initially my parents were very worried because we come from a non-film family. You've heard horror stories and, you imagine the worst. You want to protect your child. And my mother particularly was very worried. She would keep telling my father, don't encourage her. And my father would say, because I would keep saying, I want to be an actor. When Ek Do Teen happened, I remember spending hours in front of the mirror, just dancing to Ek Do Teen, wanting to be junior Madhuri Dixit. That's where the madness really started. And then I would watch performances of actors and then, try to emote the way they did. And I had this little act that I would do with my father. He was really indulging me, but I think they never thought I would actually pursue it.
Right.
But I think I can't say this enough, that when you just literally put out your dreams and desires into the universe, the universe helps you realize those. And that's what happened, because at the age of 15 and a half, out of nowhere, I was at St. Xavier's. I wasn't even in college that day when a friend of mine called me and said, they're looking for actors for a television show based in a college campus. And they put up a post. We went to a local photo studio with the best clothes we had, which were actually some shadi type clothes. There was a ghagra choli and there was a heavy salwar kameez and all that. My sister brushed out my hair. She did some makeup on me and she told me how to pose. And I actually did that and got pictures.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And got the pictures clicked and sent them in. But my sister wrote a biodata for me along with that. I was called for an audition, and out of 900 people who sent in entries, I think there were 150 of us who tested, out of which 30 actually made it to the show. I was one of them. But, the producer, I'll never forget this, Gauri. But later, once we started shooting and all that, we were just having a chat one day and the producer told me, actually, it wasn't your pictures, it was a biodata that got you.
That is hilarious. I love that.
But the pictures were quite horrendous.
I have to see these now. You have to dig these out.
Oh my God. No, I have them, but I wouldn't
No,
dare show
okay,
them
I won't show them to anyone. You have to. I'm intrigued. I'm completely intrigued.
That's a deal then.
Yeah.
And, that show, nothing happened with that show. We shot for I think 8 months and then it got shelved because the channel we were making it for went fucked. So, I think one thing led to another. So I've never had reason to believe that anything could come in the way of me achieving my dreams.
Yeah.
So I think this, nepotism has never bothered me. I don't think, I think when it comes to merit, maybe girls and boys who come from film families may get that first opportunity a little more easier. Maybe they're groomed better. They just come in more prepared. But, eventually it is how good you are. It is your mettle as an actor that would see you through, either as an actor, whatever it is, you could have, because people have different strengths, right? Whatever catapults you into that stardom. I think the X factor it's there.
Yeah, I think it's more about that ability to get your foot in the door. I mean, you hear all these stories about, people coming to Bombay with this big Bollywood dream and, you hear about sort of models and actors, and I have no idea how sort of it all happens, but it just seems very sort of cutthroat and hard and, I'm guessing there's a little bit of luck involved and, a lot of hard work, obviously.
But beyond everything, I really think...
And talent at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I think it's belief in yourself, and I've been knocked hard a lot of times. But I think I'm very grateful that I've always had my family support me. And thankfully, then I met a man who is equally supportive. So I think those things really matter. A lot of times, these girls and boys are coming from, other cities or from small towns, and then even survival is an issue, and then they have to make choices that they're not absolutely happy with, so they're not able to wait it out. I have the luxury of choice. Right. My household didn't depend on me. Like the running of my household didn't depend on me. I was actually living with my parents, and I lived with them until I got married. And so, these things make a huge difference.
Of course, yeah.
Because then even when I was going through rejection after rejection, it hit me hard at a personal level. A lot of times I questioned whether I wanted to become an actor still, but I could still go on, Gauri.
Yeah.
Because, I had that support.
That was my next sort of question. That was that, as one comes more and more into the limelight, it gets harder to deal with failure. That's sort of my feeling. And I come from, I'm saying this from a place of having opened a restaurant which didn't do well and, closing it 15 months later. And that was the first time, after like having years and years of, a lot of success in the F&B space, for the first time realizing that, no one's invincible. No one's kind of, just because you've done it once doesn't mean you'll do it every time. And it was one of the greatest lessons of my life. And I'm actually really grateful it happened because, it also helped me to deal with failure and realize that life goes on and it's absolutely fine. And, I think I felt that particularly because, being in a restaurant space, which is so sort of consumer facing, you are sort of thrown into the limelight. You are, the face of the brand, and you take the good stuff and the bad stuff. But how would you agree that it gets harder? I mean, you said that it's you've had an amazing support system to deal with the ups and downs, but being in the position that you're in today, like, how do you deal with it?
Failure is failure.
Yeah.
And it breaks your heart. But importantly, it mustn't break your spirit. And that's easier said than done. There have been times when it's broken my spirit also. You do go through periods of self-doubt. I've had phases when everything has worked out, and then phases when nothing's worked out. Both before I joined films and even after I joined films. So it's very confusing, because when you're going through a good phase, you feel like it'll last forever. And then when something doesn't work out, you begin to question your choices, your abilities, your talent, your everything, right? But I think it's the failures that shape you as much as the successes do.
But how do you snap out of it and continue to sort of, move forward?
I think I love what I do, Gauri.
Yeah.
This is really, I'm really passionate about it. And I'm so grateful every single day that I get to be on set and do what I do. So I feel that I don't want anything to come in the way of that. I'm quite shameless when it comes to it. So I remember I walked onto the sets of Tumhari Sulu 2 weeks after Begum Jaan had, I hate the word flop, but flopped at the box office. And my director was very worried. Suresh Trivedi was very worried that would impact how I would be on this film. And I needed to be Sulu was a really happy
bubbly
person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, that smile and that laughter couldn't be faked. So he told me later, he said, I was so worried about how you'd be, what frame of mind you were in, whether you'd be able to perform. But I walked on set, and it's a new day. I keep reminding myself, I don't know the exact quote, but it is a beautiful line by APJ Kalam, which says that as long as the sun rises, there is hope. And, I think that's what I hold on to. That's what's always given me strength. That, today's been a not so great day. Today's been a bad day, but there is tomorrow. And there is hope of another opportunity of, just living another day. Yeah.
I agree.
So I think that, because I pray, I've always prayed a lot. And I think that gives me a great deal of strength. I'm also someone who has conversations with all those I love. Siddharth, my parents, my sister and brother-in-law. These are the people I speak to all the time about how I'm feeling. Actually, I've also been doing healing for the past 11 years. I've been with a healer for the past 11 years, and that's really helped me. Because, this, I think a lot of times as an actor, you also end up feeling very, I don't know if alone is the right word, but out there in the world, because you don't know who to trust. You don't know if someone is praising you genuinely. You don't know whether you are doing something based on instinct, or is it guided by what the world expects of you. And I think just to shut out all that noise, my mother introduced me to a healer, and I've been with her for 11 years now, and it's been life-changing. What it's actually helped me to do is, people ask me, is it Reiki? Is it? No, it's not any of that. She just gives me, I talk to her. It's almost like therapy. I talk to her on the phone from wherever I am in the world. And she gives me tools to just change the way I'm looking at a
challenge,
particular situation. To actually break it down and see what is it that's bothering me about that situation. What is it that's overwhelming me? To just confront my worst fears and my insecurities, and, just to be honest with myself. And that has really helped me. That has just helped me become, I think, truer to myself, more authentic, I think. And that is very precious, especially in a place where, people have certain preconceived notions about you because of the characters you play. They think they know you, and sometimes you can fall into that trap of wanting to live up to people's image of you. But I'm so grateful that so all this keeps me sane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it probably answers what I'm going to ask you next, which is, a sensitive topic for a lot of women, obviously, body shaming. And, I think no one gets spared. And, I know you've been at the receiving end of it many times, but, how do you deal with toxic comments and remarks? I mean, is this part of the, these challenges that you talk about where you sort of kind of pick your battles in a way and realize what is worth focusing on and what's not? I mean, how do you deal with this?
I used to feel very small in my bigness before. Now I don't. I feel big, and I feel
you're like,
powerful,
I'm gonna own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I tried fighting it for a long time. I think it's also because my mother has always been very body conscious, and that she's instilled in my sister and me to the point where we are extremely self-critical. We used to be extremely self-critical, but that's something I've worked on, because in the initial years, in my initial years in the industry, I almost felt like there was a point where that was the only focus. That was all people were talking about. I felt like nothing else. There was nothing else about me, and I think it used to bother me. It really shattered my confidence at some point. But slowly, and I went through diet fads, and I went through, or rather fad diets, and I went through like grueling exercise regimens, and I would like become really skinny, but I would be unhappy, and also that led to all sorts of health issues. I've always had hormonal issues, and, that would get aggravated again. And I didn't know, I was constantly boomeranging. Until finally I said that. And then when I lost too much weight, people would say, but you look so charming with that little weight on. And then I'd be like, what the
hell? Yeah.
And I realized that I can't do anything to make another happy.
I have to tell you, so I have this tendency, and it's probably my Punjabi genes. I have this tendency to put on a little bit, and very easily. And obviously being in the business that I'm in and being surrounded by, food all the time, I sort of slip back and forth. And I have exactly the same problem where my family is, and I sometimes I'm like, okay, I know they're just looking out for me and they're just trying to like rein me in a little bit. But it bothers me, it really bothers me when like people are like, oh, do you really think you should have that like third chapati or whatever? And I'm like, I love food and I can't help myself. But I think,
I've realized that, been to some of the best nutritionists in the country. And I've realized that you can have one chapati and put on oodles of weight. You can have 10 chapatis and put on no weight. And the difference is the emotion you eat that chapati with. So if you eat it with guilt, and I think you and people like you and me, we've done that all our lives, right? There's been fear, there's been, and then after eating it, there's been anxiety, then there's emotional eating, there's all kinds of things. Sometimes in my case, I would starve myself a lot.
Yeah.
And therefore I was ballooning. I have people tell me, Gauri, all the time that, oh, you must not be exercising now. And I have to tell you that I love exercising. And that's something that I do on a regular basis, but I don't post pictures on Instagram of my workouts. That's something that's very personal. I don't post pictures of me praying, so I don't feel the need to make a point of what I'm doing. But I will say this, that, when I started realizing that this is me, and this is my body type, let me not fight it, because I spent most of my growing up years hating my body, wanting another body. And, that only makes you sick and unhappy. But I realized that the body is what is keeping me alive.
Yeah.
And when I started feeling that, when I made that connection, when I started giving gratitude for my body, my health started improving. I will say this very proudly to you, that I'm probably in the best health that I've been.
Amazing.
Yeah, ever over the past 3 years. Since I turned 40, something shifted, Now I'm not trying to be any other body.
Yeah.
My weight pretty much remains constant, but there are days when people tell me, oh my God, you're looking so thin. And then there are days when people tell me, are you a little like bloated, or have you put on weight? So, I realized that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I love myself the way I am. I still feel sexy. And I have to thank the dirty picture for that. Because when I was I was really big on screen, right?
Yeah.
And people said, oh my God, you were so sexy in it. And I said, well,
I rest my case. Exactly.
Yeah, really.
No, but I just have to say, as a restaurateur, I'm just going to put this out there and say that, never ever sort of comment on how much someone's eating while they're eating. It's literally like the worst thing you can do. And, whether this is at home or in a restaurant or anywhere. So, that's my 2 cents on eating. Yeah. But
no, I think you said something so wonderful, I think it's so important to just let people eat in peace and not judge them. अरे इतना कम खा रही हो, अरे इतना ज़्यादा, अरे आपको क्या है? आपका हिस्सा आपको मिल रहा है ना? As long as I'm not taking food off your plate and stuffing it down my throat, it's fine.
Absolutely. So listen, changing tack, a little bit about the industry and where it's headed. Last year your film Shakuntala Devi was slated for a theatrical release, but due to the pandemic, it released on an OTT platform. And likewise with Sherni, you changed course and it's now had a digital release. So how do you think the landscape of our cinema is changing and, evolving in this new normal and, with so many external factors impacting us? Like, what's happening with the traditional ways of the film business? Where do you see this heading?
Firstly, I think that the entertainment business was really blessed to have the option of releasing on OTTs. The birth of the OTT was a blessing for the entertainment industry, especially during the pandemic. And not just for the industry, also for the audiences. Because now imagine what people would have done sitting at home for, months on end and having just your television shows to watch, which also which could have only done reruns, right? They couldn't have put out fresh content, but we had Shakuntala was ready and the pandemic struck. And thankfully, we had an avenue to release our film. And Shakuntala is one of the most watched films on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And then Sherni also released. Yeah, it was, I'm very grateful for the OTT space.
Are you seeing a shift in the way people watch as a result of this sort of long period over which, the OTT kind of filled a big gap for us? So, are you seeing a shift now, which is going to have a sort of more long-term impact in terms of people now going back to the cinema? I mean, how are you thinking about films going forward?
Actually, it's too premature to, for any sort of conjecture, I think, for any sort of prediction. But I think that the next few months will reveal to us, once theaters fully open up and people go to the theaters, we'll know what kind of films are working. There are lots of people believe that it's only the appointment films, like your superhero films or
the Diwali release and the Eid release.
Now the release. Or the Pushpas of the world that will stand a chance in the theater. But I really believe that time will tell. It's been great to have these OTT platforms for us to release content. But I think what it's done is that it's exposed people to all kinds of content. Now people are used to watching films in all, in different languages, Indian languages and other international languages. So I think there is also, you're used to different types of storytelling, different genres,
absolutely,
different kinds of acting, and therefore now, when people are getting that kind of variety sitting at home, I think they will become more demanding when they go into the theaters. But that does not mean that it's the end of a certain kind of cinema. I just think this is an added opportunity for us. Of course, I think there will be films that are made for the theater. There will be films that are made for OTT. And that's only a plus for us.
It's really funny. People always said that every conversation you'll ever have will either be about sex, religion, or politics. And I've actually seen that every conversation I ever have always ends up talking about what you're watching now on
right, absolutely.
what's the best thing to be watching, right? So
right.
You're right. I mean, it's become it's pervaded our lives like like the medium never had. So
right.
I totally get that. You in fact have a new rom-com produced by Applause dropping soon with the Hollywood hottie Sendhil Ramamurthy. And then Jalsa with powerhouse Shefali Shah. So it looks like 2022 is going to be a super year and a super busy year for you.
Let's hope so.
Can you give us any more details? Can you spill any more beans?
We're actually going to be releasing Jalsa on Amazon Prime soon. I don't know about the film with Sendhil because, I think it will probably release maybe post-June. By then, the situation may be different. And who knows, we may be able to release in the theaters, whatever is best for the film.
Exactly.
But they're both very different films. Jalsa is a drama with elements of thriller. And I've had the chance to work with an actor I admire deeply, Shefali Shah, to have worked with Suresh Trivedi again after Tumhari Sulu. But the other one, I keep saying the film, since you mentioned Sendhil, it has Sendhil, Prati Gandhi and Ilyana. We don't have a title yet, which is why I'm not able to name the film. But I'll have 2 releases and I start shoot for a film with the director of Shakuntala very soon. So
Amazing.
I'm currently prepping for that, as a matter of fact. Yeah. So it promises to be an exciting year.
Amazing. Well, listen, all the best for that. And I can't wait.
Thank you.
So, before I let you go, I have to ask you, you've seen both the highs and lows in Bollywood. And when you see the young crop of actors today struggling, trying to wait for that one break, what do you want to say to them?
I think just work is important. I don't think any kind of work is small or big. That's been my experience. You never know what you do gets seen by whom. I did an ad for a bike once. And suddenly I got a call from Calcutta asking me if I'd be interested in doing a feature film. And I was cast as a lead in a Bengali feature film, which was my debut feature film. So, a lot of times we think, but what is this going to give me? It's not about what is this going to give me. I think you just need to do everything you do believing that this is your big break. Sometimes it might lead you there, sometimes it won't, but just give it your all. And that's been my experience here. There is nothing, no work is big or small, and it will happen. It will happen. You have to hang in there. Sometimes it takes longer than you think it will, but it has to happen if that's what you really want.
Well, on that amazing word of inspiration, I'm going to take a quick break before we enter the last segment, which is all fun. Sure. And actually, this entire show has been amazing, great fun. But this is the rapid fire. So we'll be back after a quick break.
Okay, great.
Love fighting?
We've got you covered.
Check out our show, The Fighting Goat, where we, the voices of the internet, Arjun Chipalkatti and Somesh Kamra, bring to you crazy weekly action on your favorite combat show, The Fighting Goat.
Be it commentary, breakdown, predictions, analysis of styles and techniques.
And of course, your round of favorite fighters.
You can listen to us every Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, website, and all major podcast streaming platforms.
So welcome back, Vidya. And before I let you go, I'm going to ask you a few fun questions. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
So who's your inspiration or role model?
As an actor or as a person?
Anything.
I think anyone who's doing their all to live their dreams, Yeah. So not any one individual. I get inspired by so many people all the time. Of course, closer to home, it's Siddharth. There are lots of things I admire about him. My sister, but I just think lots of people.
I agree.
I admire you.
Thank you.
But you started and you run one of my favorite restaurants in the city. And you so quietly, with such quiet grace, it's amazing.
Thank you. So speaking of restaurants, what's your comfort food or something that you can eat every day?
I eat pasta every day. But now I've had to switch to gluten-free pasta and it's not so much fun.
Who's your favorite actor or actress of all times? I know that's a tough one, but
Yeah, I've enjoyed performances of various actors, but I don't think there's any one actor. But I have to say, Sean Penn is someone who's affected me every time I've watched him. Robin Williams, always. In India, I'd say Sridevi has affected me every single time, whether she's making you laugh or cry. She's just, as a matter of fact, it's 3 years, I think. 3-4 years since she passed away.
Yeah, no. Your all-time favorite movie, and how many times have you binge watched it?
Oh my God. I think Before Sunrise, Before Sunset.
Oh.
I love those films. I could watch them anytime, anywhere.
I know.
I don't know how many times I've watched them though. Yeah. And Julie Delpy.
I know.
Yeah.
Your most cherished achievement?
Just the fact that I'm doing what I love doing for a living.
I think you're very lucky to be doing that. So I completely understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's your definition of success?
Wow. I find these questions damn tough. What's my definition of success? I think success is what gives you happiness. So at the end of a day, sometimes I feel like I've had a successful day at work. When you feel fulfilled, content, or you just feel like you've had a good day, for me, even those are successes. When during the pandemic, I learned to change the light bulb. I think I felt like, so for me, it's so many things. It's not just success is
having a good day.
Things.
I love that. Yeah.
Having a good day is definitely, I think, top of the list.
Well, listen, you've made my day today and week and month. So thank you so much for being on the show. And, I wish you all the bestest for this year and everything that it brings for you. And thank you again. And
thank you.
Hope to see you very soon. Very, very soon in person.
Thank you for your thank you. And I've enjoyed chatting with you. This is the most we've chatted, I think, because at the restaurant I'm busy eating. But yes, hope to see you soon at the table. And good luck with everything you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll be in touch.
Yes, absolutely.
See you. Wow. What a powerball of inspiration. She's a celebrity who truly needs to be celebrated for her candor and self-belief. I think the most important thing that I took away from our conversation was the importance of not just pursuing, but persisting in pursuing your dreams through all the self-doubt and external obstacles. I hope you enjoyed tuning in today. Do catch the earlier episodes when you get a chance. And more importantly, I would love to hear from you with your thoughts on the show. You can find me on Instagram at Gauri Devidayal or on Twitter at Gauri Details or LinkedIn. Either way, sit back and relax because this round is on me.
Inflation, fiscal deficit, GDP, MSP, NPA, equity market वगैरह वगैरह। दोस्तों, हमने सारे शब्द टीवी या अखबार में जरूर देखे होंगे या फिर सुने होंगे, पर हम में से कितने लोग हैं जो ये जानते हैं कि इन सब का सीधा प्रभाव पड़ता है हमारी सैलरी पर, हमारे इंक्रीमेंट पर और कमबख्त हमारे खर्चों पर। दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है अभिनव त्रिवेदी और मैं बात कर रहा हूँ इक्का दुक्का इकोनॉमी पॉडकास्ट से, जहाँ पे इस तरह के इकोनॉमिक और फाइनेंशियल टर्म्स को मैं जोड़ूंगा सीधा आपकी जेब से। हर मंगलवार एक नया एपिसोड सुने IVM पॉडकास्ट की वेबसाइट, ऐप या फिर किसी भी अन्य पॉडकास्ट प्लेटफॉर्म पर।
If you're a cricket fan, check out Edges and Sledges, India's favorite cricket podcast.
The podcast focuses on Indian cricket, the IPL, and has a ton of banter both on and off the field.
We talk about the week's biggest cricket stories with current and ex-international cricketers, coaches, or sometimes just between us.
And it's hosted by me, DJ.
Me, Varun.
And me, Ashwin.
New episodes release every week.
You can catch us on the IVM Podcast's website, app,
or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.